It was like an arranged marriage. We got put in a hotel room together.
We met in a hotel room.
It was like a seedy adult film. My boyfriend at the time, he was like, do you want me to sit out the front and wait for you? Like, do you want a code word that you can text me if I need to come and bang the door down and rescue
If I'd been your fiancé, I would have said, I am sitting out the front waiting, and pineapple is our word. Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present. My name's Cam Daddo.
I'm Ali Daddo.
How are you, sweetheart?
I'm really good.
We've had the pleasure of talking with many couples here in the bathroom. We do like to call this a relationship podcast.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Where you, the listener, can come to hear about how people from different walks of life make their relationships work. Not so much by way of being told how to do it, more from listening to others share about how they make theirs work or hear stories about how they might have done things a little better.
Mm-hmm. And today we're talking with a couple that, well, we don't think they are. In fact, we know they're not. They're not in a romantic relationship. It's actually a work thing. And they certainly spend a lot of time together.
For our Melbourne listeners, you'll no doubt have heard Jase, Hawkins and Lauren Phillips bring their local knowledge, their humour, sass, authentic warmth to listeners each morning, starting conversations about all the things that matter to Melburnians, from what's hot around town to the latest in the footy. And more of that kind of stuff on Nova 100.
Yeah, they've actually got a really special thing going, which listeners across our big brown land and our overseas listeners will be able to relate to. I mean, most of us work with someone that may be quite opposite to us.
Is that right? Or married to someone that's quite opposite to us.
Possible, but they have found a way to get along, as have we, honey.
Yes.
Jase and Lauren might have some answers as to how that happens.
Let's welcome Jase and Lauren to the bathroom. Welcome, Jase and Lauren, to the bathroom. How are you guys?
We are excellent. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
It's a different kind of episode for us in that you guys are a working couple,
Yeah.
right?
We
Yeah.
It's a working
We don't
relationship.
sleep together.
That's right. Okay. So there's
Yeah.
no gossip here then.
No.
Oh, we're not that kind. I reckon they've got some other stuff to tell us.
All
don't you
right.
think? Surely.
Maybe. Let's see. Let's see how we go. How did you two first get involved in radio, and sort of what sparked your interest in it? Because this is how you met, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but we've got two very opposite journeys. I'm a relative newcomer to radio and Jase has been doing it his whole life.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was a chubby little ranger growing up on the streets of Brisbane, and I was a proud radio nuffy. I used to chase like the Black Thunders, free cans of Coke and stuff like that.
Didn't we all? I love
Yep,
that.
yep. And
I
for
did it
some
in
reason-
Melbourne, 3XY.
They just tasted better when they were free. Did
Absolutely.
you guys notice that? I
Yeah.
don't know what it was.
And stickers stick better when they're free too.
Yes.
You're right to get the bumper stickers,
Yep.
the odd T-shirt.
And yeah, I'd go to all the radio outside broadcasts and all that sort of thing, and then finished high school and sent letters out to all radio stations just asking for free work experience. And eventually they took me on at Triple M Brisbane, and I did that for about 8 months for free. And in that time, Kyle Sandilands took over, and he thought they were paying me. And one time I stuffed up, and he threw a CD across the room and said, "What are we paying you for?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm a volunteer." And then he felt bad and went in the next day and said all my bonus money paid to that young chubby kid. And that's how I got on the payroll.
Lauren, how did you get into radio? You said it's a fairly new move for you. Were you in production at first or?
Yeah, so I finished school and got into television early. I was working at Channel 9. I actually did a general screen test when I was 18 and they called me back and said, would you like to come and do some stuff on postcards? And so I started in television and I hosted a kids show called Kids WB, and then I moved to the Weekend Today show as the weather girl on the weekend show, and that was during COVID. And I'm from Melbourne and I got moved interstate. I was told I'd be gone for 2 weeks to pack up a suitcase and go for 2 weeks. The borders were looking like they were going to shut. It was right at the beginning. And then I wasn't allowed home for 10 and a half months while the borders were shut. So I was living interstate. And I was in New South Wales and I didn't have any family or friends there. My partner was from Queensland, so we met up in Byron Bay and we thought we'll stay here for a while until the dust settles.
Pretty good spot to sit.
It was great. Like we hit the jackpot on that one.
Yeah.
And so we
She
were
was
there.
like, save your vaccines. Let's just ride this out, guys.
Yeah, I was like right in Byron territory, which was great. And then I was living there for a couple of years, and a summer breakfast job came up over Christmas in Melbourne at Kiss at the time. And I thought, well, what a great way to go back home for 2 weeks, to have a reason to go home. And if I have to quarantine, at least I'm quarantining to work and to get to see my family for Christmas. And as luck would have it, the borders opened up just before I started that. And I did a 2-week stint on a summer breakfast and went back to my usual life. And then I got a phone call saying, did you enjoy it? And I was like, I loved it. I got this real taste for radio and I just fell in love with it. And they said, we might have a job for you if you'd be interested. Come and meet us. And I flew back to Melbourne, and Jase and I, it was like an arranged marriage. We got put in a hotel room
We
together.
met in a hotel room. Now,
Just the two of you?
Yeah, well, no, talk about Seedy. It was me, one other boss in this hotel room, sitting there with a little recorder, and I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and he's like, I just got the phone call, Lauren's downstairs. I'll go get her. And I'm like, there is no way I'm sitting in this room by myself when you guys walk back in.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
This just looks a little bit.
And
It
so,
felt like
is
the
that
scene
what
of, like,
happened though, Lauren?
a
Was he
cheap-
sitting on the end
No,
of the
I
bed?
came downstairs.
No, he came down. He came downstairs.
Good
He didn't
call.
want me to walk in, like he
Yeah.
was just sitting there waiting for me.
There she is.
But that was the beginning of our...
channel on the TV. Like,
Yeah,
hang on
seriously.
a minute. What's that?
It was like a
playing?
seedy adult film. But that was sort of the beginning of our working relationship. And I think we both walked away from that in such an awkward situation. And I was like... And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, he was like, do you want me to sit out the front and wait for you? Like, do you want a code word that you can text me if I need to come and bang
Mate,
the door down and rescue
if I'd
you?
been your fiance, I would have said, I am sitting out the front
Yeah.
waiting, and
I'm in the
pineapple is
room.
our word.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'm coming up into
A
the
safe
room.
word.
It was an awkward situation, but we weren't awkward with each other at the
No,
start.
because we were both so awkward. We were like, it was uncomfortable for both of us, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And you
it kind
guys-
of cancelled each other out.
You
So-
guys get it. It's like chemistry's so hard to get, and you can't force it. And I keep saying to Lauren, like, I've been doing this for like 27 years, and it's so rare to have that host-co-host relationship where it just clicks.
We're
Yeah,
still,
we were
we're
lucky.
still working on it. We haven't. Right? We're
Well,
getting there. We're in
The mortgage
training.
is dependent on it, guys, so make it work.
Indeed. So, were you aware that it was an audition as such, Lauren?
I did. Well, I knew that at that point they'd told me that PJ, who was hosting with Jase at the time, was going to move back to New Zealand. And I think she might have already moved back during the pandemic. She was doing the show remotely.
Yeah.
And I was just told to be very tight-lipped about it because they weren't exactly sure if there was going to be a spot to do like some bits and pieces on the show. The whole role wasn't explained to me at the start.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I started to gather that they were looking for a co-host for Jase. And we did a couple of things, and then we spoke on the phone a little bit. And that's when I think we were like, okay, we get on really well. We were so lucky we hit the jackpot in that. And
But it was
then-
also a really tough time because we couldn't go for a coffee together.
Yeah.
Like for the first 3-4 months of doing
Yeah.
the show, we could we would enter the studio 5:45. You'd do the show. There was no meetings afterwards. You had to leave the building straight
Yeah.
away. My dad was really sick and passing away at the time, so I was dealing with that in Brisbane. I couldn't be there. Like everything was against us.
Yeah, it was a unique time. And I just moved back to Melbourne for the job, and my partner was interstate, and I had to rent a house. I had nowhere to live, and I had no furniture, and all we'd do was go to work, and I'd come home, and I had 2 mattresses on the floor and a dog bed, and that was it, because that was all I could get. I couldn't shop for furniture. I couldn't get anything.
Rang me crying, sitting there with a glass of vino and a dog bed.
I was like, what
With
am
your
I
back up
doing?
against the wall.
Yeah, and I'm like, congratulations on your dream gig.
Did you actually have a dog for the dog bed? Or did you just have an
I
empty
did.
dog?
I
Oh, thank God.
had 2 dogs. Thank God. I think they were the only things that kept me sane during that
Yeah,
time.
true. The
Did you
pets
keep-
came in handy.
You keep looking at the
during
dogs
COVID.
going, why do you ask 2 dogs? Is it a case of you guys opposites attract, or are you
Yeah.
fairly
Yeah.
similar?
No, God, no. We are
Polar opposites.
polar opposites. So much so that
Tell us about that.
like our lifestyles are very different. I'm a dad of 3 young boys. Lauren's living the social life, but I describe it as our lives are completely different. We don't want each other's lives, but we respect each other's lives.
And I think we'd like elements of each other's lives.
Yeah.
Like I look at Jase's life and I love he's got 3 beautiful boys and
You can have 'em.
And I love the boys. And and Jase says things like that. And then I'm like, yeah. And then I'm like, hang out with them for an hour and I'm like, no thanks. They can go home to you now.
Yeah, or I'll send Loz a photo of me at like a school disco night or an awards night, and I'll go, "Where are you?" And she might be partying in Chris Hemsworth's house over in LA at the time, and I'm like, "Yeah, we could not be any more different right now."
So it just sounds like our marriage.
Yeah.
It really does.
But sometimes it just works. You complement each other in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah.
But I think
We're kind of like brother and sister, I would say.
but I
Right.
think having respect for the other person's life. And let's say, hey, that's your life. You do you. I don't want it, but I respect it, is what's made it work.
And what do you think is the major component of you two clicking? Is it, I mean, I know
Sexual
you said,
tension, obviously.
Oh, my
Really?
God,
Just
guys.
don't do it, because as soon as you do it, guys, you know it's over.
it's over.
No, don't screw the crew. That was the first
Exactly.
thing I learned, and there is no danger of that happening here.
So yeah, you've talked about opposites attract, but is it the sense of humor? Like, is it immediate? Like, that's often what bonds people. Like, you can figure out the jokes before the jokes have
I
even
reckon
left
it's
someone's
upbringing.
mouth.
For me, I think it's
Really?
upbringing.
Okay.
Yeah, I find our families are a bit similar.
Yeah, right.
Well, our family values are definitely really similar.
Yeah, that's what it would be. I
Yeah,
would say
okay.
is what we sort of bonded over.
I think we do have a similar sense of humour. And I think, I also think that really intense time where we were put together when we couldn't see anyone else other than each other because we're in lockdown. It was in Melbourne, you know. We had to have a permit to be able to drive to work outside of before 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever it was. You're only allowed out of your house for half an hour a day. And we spent this really intense time together at the beginning.
Well,
and even though it's been a short-lived, you know, we've known each other for 3 years, I don't remember life before Jase. I feel like I know everything about him.
Would that
And-
be
We were
BJ before Jase? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would be.
yeah.
I'd run with before Jase rather than BJ. I think I was forced to be vulnerable quickly with Lauren. Like I say, I was going through a really dark
Yeah.
time with losing my dad and stuff. And so I think because we just had to fast forward all the bullshit and open up to each other, you know, and she was, you know, in Melbourne, couldn't see a partner, locked in at home, you know, we were forced to be exposed to each other straight away. That, you know, it sort of bonded us quickly.
You guys are on the morning shift
Yep.
with Nova. I'm thinking you're up probably 3-4 o'clock, right? For us,
4:15.
There you go, 4:15.
Yeah.
Are you spending more time with each other than you do your partners?
Yeah.
Yeah, quite often.
Does that
Yeah.
create tension at home?
Well,
Sexual tension at home?
her partner sent me a message when we signed going, "Thank God she's out of the house. She's all yours now, mate."
Yeah, and I'll finish that sentence. And now I can go and play golf.
Yeah.
Seriously. I think like the boys get on so well. Jase and my fiance Paul have become great mates, which for me was a joy when that happened. I love all my worlds colliding, and seeing the two people that I'm closest with become great mates has been a real privilege, to be honest, because it doesn't always happen that way. But then it also became my worst nightmare too, because it's like 2 against 1 constantly.
Right.
And when we've got Clint Stanaway on the show as well, you throw him in and it's like all the boys against me. But the fact that they've become such good friends has just made this relationship so easy, I would say. And Jase's partner Lou, likewise, is great. We all get along so well. We don't all get to hang out together very often, but when we do, it's so fun. We're
Lou and
really
I-
lucky.
Lou and I have been together for like 20 plus years. So
Oh, okay.
the last few months of us not working, because we got shafted from another radio station before Nova picked us up at Centrelink.
Welcome to showbiz, baby.
And employment. Yep, thank you. And for the last few months, it's probably the most Lou and I have been in the house together at the same time. You know,
How old are your boys, Jase?
10, 8, and 2, we went back in.
8 and 2.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, that's a bit of a,
We
that's
were
a bit of
out.
a gap, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were out, mate. They were going to school, but no, she wore me down during COVID. Should I tell them about the therapist and why we decided that? So
Which one?
the
There's been many therapists we've discussed.
I'd never done therapy work, and I said to Lou, I don't really want a third. And she said, well, why don't you go and see a therapist and talk through it? And if you still don't want to do it, we don't have to. And I was like, okay. And I rang all my mates, and everyone was like, lean into it, you know. And I was like, okay. So I go and sit down with this therapist, and he's like, look, if I see you in the street, I won't acknowledge you. And I'm like, no, that's fine. I'm going to tell people that I'm seeing a therapist.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we start chatting, and I've got the little voice of all my mates going, lean in. So he's like, tell me about, some, opening up. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I could have had a heroin addiction and an affair. And I don't, right? But I could have had that. And then halfway through, 30 minutes in of me opening up about everything, he goes, That's how I know you. My daughter's best friends with your son at school.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, no.
It's the last thing you want to be hearing. Oh my God.
I walked out, I rang my wife and said, let's just have the third. I'm never going to a therapist again. Let's just have the third. Like,
No.
That could
How's
only
that?
happen to you.
for the next 30 minutes, I just sat there in my mind going back what I said
What
for the
have I
first 30
said?
minutes.
Oh, my God.
That is so unprofessional.
Well, at least he
that
flags
breaks
it.
all the codes of the therapy client place, doesn't it?
Halfway through as well. I think he was just sick of
Yes.
hearing you whinge. And he was like, how am I going to get out of this?
And now all the dads at the cricket and the footy know all that 30-minute detail.
I died.
Oh no!
Thank goodness they're 1 in 100, those therapists.
Yeah,
they're-
absolutely.
Because we're big advocates for therapy.
How much of your content outside of the radio with your family or fiance, now for you, Lauren, do you bring into the radio show and do you clear it with
Everything.
them first?
Well, I mean, look, Jase is, I think having done it for so long, I don't want to speak on your behalf,
No, you are.
Jase, but you're very well versed in what will make your wife absolutely flip. And
But also
you've got it pretty covered.
Everyone in my life knows I'll pretty much talk about it. I'll change names and stuff like that if I think it's going to be too personal.
Right.
Also, Loz is pretty good, or we're both pretty good at picking up on, like, if I go, okay, I got a funny story here with Lou, and Lauren will be like, hey, you and the missus have been fighting this weekend. Maybe park that story.
Not
and
this
we'll do it in
week.
5 days.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm a bit more sensitive probably to some of the things Jase wants to say. But for me, coming from a television background where it's very much like the camera's on and you just put on a show regardless of what's happening in the back end of your life, I found it really confronting when I first started. I'd come in some mornings and be like, oh my God, I've had a horrible blow up with Paul about something. And our boss being like, great, we'll put it in at 8:10. And I'd be like, what? No. It took me a little bit of time to, I suppose, find what was for on-air content and what wasn't. And I probably pushed it a bit far a few times at the start.
See, I feel more comfortable talking about it on the show than I would in a group setting with some friends, which is really weird.
Yeah, the show's like therapy.
Yeah,
for
the
Well,
Jase.
is
show's
that
my
because
therapy.
you are right now you're in the studio, you're in a show bubble. So if you're
Yes.
actually sitting in person with a group of mates, it's a little more
Yeah, it's probably- yeah,
intimate
you're right.
kind of thing.
But it throws me because I'll be at Woolies and someone might come up and she'll be like, I hope you and the missus worked everything out on Friday.
I know that's hard,
And
isn't
I'll
it?
totally forget about what I've said because you know what it's like in this game. You say it and you move on to the next podcast episode.
Yes.
You know, like,
It's even worse when people say it to your partner, though. And Paul,
Oh, yeah.
Paul will be like, I was getting petrol today and someone came up to me saying, I can't believe Lauren said that about you. What did you say? And I'm like,
Yeah.
what did I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you probably sprinkle a little bit of extra
Little secret sauce on
little
there.
fancy on it. But, you
yeah,
know.
every now and then it's funny. Shit just seems to happen to us, like the therapist thing. You'd sit there and
Yeah.
go,
Right.
oh, that bit of mayo on that. And it's like, nah,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how. Lauren's first day at Nova drove in and bang, you know the metal thing that comes down from the undercover car park that says don't drive under it if you hit this because of the
Yes,
height.
yes.
Her car, bang, hits that.
Yeah, it got stuck in the car park. That
So
was
do you
my
think-
first day. And then my second day today, I just
She flushed her
went
swipe
to go to the
key.
bathroom and walked out of the office where the toilets are, and I had my swipe key in my back pocket that fell in.
For some,
So I couldn't get back into the office.
for some reason,
that's
things
day
just
1 and
happen
2.
to us. Like,
It's going well. Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens on day 3. I'll probably burn the building down.
Don't even
No,
tempt
it's brand
us.
new. You can't burn the buildings. Just redone the studios. You guys have got the best studios in Australia.
They're great, aren't they?
So,
yeah.
what's the worst thing that's ever happened on air? Have you had something that you've like gone, oh, that like, did you choke on something? Did something ever happen?
I'm pretty risk averse, to be honest.
Yeah.
Jace is more of the risk taker. I'm the one that is like, okay, let's do the risk assessment on this one. Jace, you've probably had.
I got suspended for a week years ago when I was a young buck in Brisbane because we found out the fake name Justin Timberlake was using at a hotel. You know how they'll check
Yep.
in under
Oh, no, you
aliases?
can't do that. Did you reveal it?
Well, I rang the hotel on the air rather than pre-recording it. Silly me. Asked for the room under the fake name.
Still
And then
being
just
used.
to double down,
Yeah.
I said I was Dennis Henlin from Sony, who was running the show at the time.
Jason.
So they put me straight through.
And did you talk to Justin
Did old mate
Timberlake?
pick up the phone?
He picked up. I'm like, Justin. And he goes, hello. And then I launched into, hi, Justin, you're live on air on Brisbane Radio.
Oh,
He hung up and I enjoyed a lengthy 5 days off.
Whoa.
But you know what was bad luck? Was
Oh, bad luck,
the
mate.
head of Sony, whose name I used, his niece was in the car listening at the time. So she was like, hey, Uncle Dennis, do you know what just happened?
Oh,
So that made it
no.
doubly worse.
Yeah.
That's a doozy.
But that was in my 20s, so we've moved on since then.
I did a live Zoom on Friday night, a talk on menopause, and I did a live Zoom out to, I don't know how many people it went out
Yeah.
to. And I made the fateful mistake of having a small bag of popcorn about 10 minutes before I had to do the live Zoom. And I was fine. And then 20 minutes in, that one little kernel went into
little
the
bit.
back of the throat. And I was choking so bad.
Yeah.
And because it's Zoom, I can see, you know how you can see yourself full frame when, when you're on. So I'm watching
swelling up.
myself choke. And my face is getting redder and my eyes are watering. And then I try to sort of, I calm down eventually. But after you choke, you've got a voice like that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's
talk
terrible.
about dry vaginas like this. And they're like,
I
"Are you
sound like
okay?"
one now.
Oh, it was so embarrassing. It was so
This is what it'd be
bad.
like down there.
Oh, it's always at the worst
What
times
does a
as
dry
well.
vagina sound like?
Like
This is it.
At least you timed it.
Yeah,
In the talk.
Exactly.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't get to
Yeah,
tell
follow
you.
that one.
She's
So I've,
left
so
for
I-
Melbourne.
I've
Yeah.
always said to Ali, just stay away from the nuts
I know.
before we go on air.
It was my
We'll be
mistake.
doing stuff. Just don't crunch on nuts.
Can I just
You
say
know-
it's great to be back on breakfast radio with the free food that gets sent into
Oh
the radio
my
station.
gosh.
Oh,
Is that still a thing? Do you
It's
still get
still
free
a thing.
stuff like
It's
that?
still a thing. In
Yeah.
my first stint on breakfast, I think I put on about 10 kilos.
we lost weight,
And then we
being
lost
unemployed.
weight when we when we weren't working.
Yeah.
And now we're back. I'm like, Jase, we're not doing this again.
Yep.
We are not doing this
The
dance
big
again.
breakfast. We're back.
So you said, but to that, when you came back on air, you said, Jace, we're so pumped to have our dysfunctional family back
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
That's how we refer to it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Pauline Hanson. Please explain. What is that?
Well, there's three of us on the show. I mean, Jason and I say this hand on heart. It's the show's called Jason Lauren. Clint Stanaway is the third person on the show. He originally came on as a newsreader, but he's very much more than that now. He's
100%.
absolutely the third part of our show. And I think he brings out the best in both of us, to be honest. And we consider ourselves like two brothers and a sister. Like
Yeah.
Jase is the older brother who's just bossy and thinks he rules the roost. Clint's a classic middle child that doesn't quite get the attention that he wants or deserves.
And then we got mum in the corner having a midlife crisis.
And a cross between that and like the bratty little sister.
And also more widely as well, like I love that this show embraces people who are a little cooked and not the popular child at school. You know what I mean? Like I would say all the people that listen to our show, we say are part of the dysfunctional family.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean they're all a little bit cooked.
No, but we're not the cool kids at school. You know, it's like we like it feeling inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very inclusive.
Yeah.
Where would you like the show
We
to
should put that on the
evolve
billboard.
into, or
We're
have you got a plan or anything like this for the
For it to rate,
Yeah.
Ellie, would be
Right.
my plan.
steps? Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think our show, we sort of started, like we said earlier, against all odds with two people that didn't know each other. And we were sort of on the bottom of the ratings ladder, so to speak. And then when we finished up at the end of last year, the show had just kind of slowly and organically grown without us having, to be honest, any money to put behind it.
Yeah.
We weren't giving away cars and huge prizes like
We're
some
using
of the
the
other
same photo
shows.
for 2.5 years. Like it was,
Yeah.
like, let's be honest, we were running on an oily rag.
We were.
And we wrapped up as number 2. And we're
Wow.
bloody
Well
proud of
done.
that.
Yeah.
You know, we're really proud of that.
It just kind of grew organically, and that's sort of, I think, what we both want this show to do is to continue to just speak honestly and openly and inclusively and make people feel like they're a part of it, and let the show grow with Melbourne and adapt with what's happening in this city. It's very Melbourne focused. It's very local, and
And I'm proud we're the underdogs. I like that. You know what I mean? When we're not the flashy, shiny coin, look at us, look at us.
yeah. So I think we'd just like it to continue sort of on the path that it was, and just to grow as our audience wanted to, really.
Yeah.
But we'd also like to get to number one. We're both very competitive, so let's not let's not beat around the bush at that. We'd love to get to the
We
top
have
of the
told
tree.
Nova management we hate change and moving, so we're going to die here.
Yeah.
We're just,
Okay.
They're stuck with us for a while.
Nice place to curl up your toes in those studios in Clarendon Street.
the studios are beautiful. In fact, the night we were in here getting a photo, because we've come from what looked like a shelter in a war, we're getting photos, and I was like, thank God we've gone this way and not the other way, because it would have hurt leaving these nice studios and going across the road.
Yeah, we feel like we're in the penthouse here.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was in there for the launch of the studios, and our separate bathrooms logo is painted on the wall. And I said, "Oh, it's painted on the wall. I love that.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
commitment.
a decal that you can pull off.
Yeah.
It's pretty permanent.
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah. It was.
Until they just get the white paint out and
Well,
go,
let's
it's done.
Yeah, don't give them any ideas.
How's this, guys? And when I first got breakfast in Brisbane many years ago, they brought in, they were like, here's some merch. And they brought in mugs, and it had the station logo on it. And I was like, oh, are we putting our names on it? And they were like, well, not yet. Let's see how things go.
Oh my God.
Maybe on the second or third round of mugs. And I was
They
like,
said
all right.
that straight up.
Yeah, well, that's confidence. Okay.
Sharpie out and like write your name on it.
Yeah, I'll have to go check the mug cupboard here.
Or it was just generic, The Breakfast Show.
The breakfast show. How good.
Do you get recognised in public, not for your faces, but for your voice? Do people kind of go, why? You sound so familiar to me. Are people doing that to you? Or have they done that to you?
Oh, maybe once or twice. Not really.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much, if you find me, I'm either at home, at my mate's place, or at Hampton Bowls Club. Everyone knows that.
Really? You're lawn
Love
bowler?
the Hampton Bowls Club. Oh, I've been going there for
No, he's never played lawn bowls at Hampton Bowls. Never once.
It just
great
holds
bar
up the bar
prices.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great bar prices.
Yeah, there you go.
Jase frequents 3 venues and that's it.
Yeah.
He's a creature of habit, our
Yeah.
Jase. He doesn't like leaving his suburb.
Yeah, Westfield, Southland, Hampton RSL, or the Bowls Club.
That's it.
Loving it. Hey, Lauren, you mentioned before that you've got your TV experience. What's so good about radio, though?
Well, I think it's given me that opportunity to probably have a bit more personality than really produced television. So doing travel shows and kids shows, they're great fun. But they're quite heavily scripted and you sort of have to stick to a brief. When I was doing Weekend Today show, the weather, I loved that because it's obviously not scripted. Besides the 30 seconds you're reading the weather, you're out and about and you're chatting to people and you sort of get to be yourself a bit more. And then starting radio, I would say my best friends who've known me my whole life keep saying, you are on the radio who we know as a friend.
Right.
So it's given me an opportunity to just really be myself. And that's also thanks to working with Jase and Clint and people that I get on so well with. It's really allowed me to probably show sides of myself that only my best friends and my family knew. And I think
And you were very nervous at the start, which rightfully so, especially if your whole career has been TV, where you're protective of the personal side and you're there presenting. But it's just been so awesome to watch Loz get more relaxed. And again, it comes with trust with who you're working with.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I jokingly give her crap at the moment because we came back from the break and we'll be in meetings or coming up with stuff for the show and she's flying with all these awesome radio ideas. And I looked at her the other day and I'm like, you've drunk the Kool-Aid. You're one of us.
No.
You've become one of us. Because she thinks all us radio people are a bit cooked.
Yeah, they're a bit too kooky for me. Like, Clint, thank God I've had Clint stand away during this process because we would sit in meetings and we'd leave and get in the car and within 5 seconds we'd be calling each other and I'd be like, did that conversation really happen today? Was that idea really thrown around?
Yeah.
But I think I've loosened up from the start as well. But I always say to Jay, and Jace knows, I've got a 48-hour cooling off period. If someone gives me a ridiculous idea, I'm like, that is a hard no from me.
Oh, yeah. How's it work with you too? If
I'll be 50% in by day 1 and by day 2, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, let's just do it.
she'll go, no. And I go, okay, no worries. And I just know in 2 days' time she'll come round.
She'll come around to it.
Yeah,
it similar
sometimes
with you
you've got to
too?
let things percolate and marinate,
Yeah.
you know.
You're willing to say yes to pretty much absolutely anything.
Well, see, guys, when I was 18, I was my mum sent me to a psychic because
Right.
I had no clue what I wanted to do. And
I love
At
that
18?
stuff.
yeah, at 18,
Love it.
I'd gone through school and just scraped through my HSC. I was at school in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Just scraped through and was doing a bunch of different jobs. And Mum said, "Look, go see Kitty." And she actually mentioned her this morning when I was talking to Mum this morning, and she's
There you go.
talked about Kitty, going, "Yeah, she was very intuitive, that Kitty." And anyway, Kitty told me the one takeaway I had from her was say yes to everything right now and see where it
Yeah.
leads you. So that's what I did, and so I tend to say yes and sometimes regret it, but most of the time I don't.
Good generic advice there from the psychic.
Say yes.
There it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Such
Oh,
a
that's
skeptic.
just telling me this is just for you. Thank you,
Next
Sebastian.
person comes in, say no. I think you should close down to ideas.
So what's your day? You said you get in there at 4-ish. What time
Up
are you
at
home?
4. Up at 4. We're all in by between 5:30.
Yeah.
And then out on average, 11:30?
Yeah, 11:30.
You know-
And some days, like, breakfast is so tricky because you might just wake up and just be having a really ordinary day. Not that you don't want to be there, but, you know, you haven't slept well or Jase's kids have kept him awake at night or whatever it is. And we can tell when I'm like, okay, we need to get out early today. And it's generally not us that needs to say, I want to leave early. I can look at Jase and I'm like, guys, let's get out early today. He needs a rest.
Yeah, we're pretty good
and
at
vice
picking up for the
versa.
other person.
That's
We're
good.
going, hey, let's get her out. you
Yeah.
know? And it's not, I'm not saying let's get her out because she's being fucking lazy. Like, I know she just needs a break. She's had a tough 24 hours and we'll check in later.
Yeah,
You know?
we can read each other pretty well. And we're strangely protective over each other as
Yeah.
well, I think. Like, I know, and often Jase is one of those people that won't ask for help, which often is a really manly thing. Men think it's a manly thing to do, and I can tell straight away. I'm like, no, today's not the day that we're going to get him to do extra work or push him, or it's never him saying, guys, I want to get out early.
Well, I must say, just getting to talk to you both, it is so lovely, the respect and kindness you have for each other. So that's only going to take you for many,
Thank you.
many years. And it's
a complete
really lovely
opposite
to
on the
hear
air.
that. Yeah, well, that's what gives you the trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like when you know you've got
Yeah.
a genuine care for each other, you can go to those places that feel a bit like, you know, sticking.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Sticking in the ribs there, sort of thing.
I work on this side. You've got to have tension. The tension has to be there. And people go, "Oh, it's tension." You know, tension is the actor's night. But you know, you don't want it in your body. You got to be nice and loose and relaxed. But tension's what holds up bridges. You know, it holds up buildings. And when you've got that going on between you two, but you've got that innate trust where you can ham and egg it together, and you know that if one's sort of struggling a bit, the other one's going to, flop in.
yeah.
It's a bit how our
Oh.
marriage has gone, actually, Al, where one's
There's
sort of.
never been tension in our marriage.
Oh, no, yes, there has.
Mum and Dad are fighting. Mum and Dad are fighting.
Hasn't there?
Oh, don't get me wrong. If I'm asking, about the dramas at home between her and Paul, it does feel like I'm walking through a minefield. And I just go, do I ask another question? Take another step? All right, mine hasn't gone off. So far, so good.
We do a 2-minute shower. We keep our answers nice and short.
Yep.
And since you guys are our very first working couple, our first couple that are not actually romantic.
Everyone else has slept together except us.
There you go. We'll ask you these questions. So both of you answer the same question.
Okay.
What the world needs more of is?
Kindness.
Less cancelling things.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, this is a really hard-hitting one, so just prepare yourself. Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus?
Taylor Swift
Taylor
every day of
Swift.
the week.
I have turned into the biggest Taylor Swift fan.
Right.
Yeah, we love Tay-Tay.
Yeah, me too.
What,
Jace went to the show and
what
then started
turned you?
watching all the docos.
Yeah,
I got free tickets to the Nova corporate box when I signed on.
Oh, well done.
And the wife and I went, and I was sitting there chatting with Brendan, who's like the big boss, and Style came on, and I'm like trying to schmooze the big boss, and I'm like,
Excuse me.
sorry, I know you're talking to me right now, but Style's on. You're going to have to excuse me.
I got to sing every word to this.
Yeah.
What is it about each other that you really enjoy?
Lauren's bloody funny. Lauren is a very, very funny person. She might not think so, but she's, yeah.
I was going to say your sense of humour, but now that's far too
Well,
cute,
I got in
isn't
there
it?
early, so tough. You could go with looks.
No, I'm going to
Okay,
stick
all
with
right.
sense of humour.
Proven right there. The artist you most want to see live?
I've got ADHD. I can't sit through a whole concert. I'm not kidding. Like,
He went to Nemo on Ice and told the kids it was a 2-part series and left it into
I took my niece
You
and
did
nephew.
not.
Yeah,
Did
I
you?
did. I told them they find him at the next show because it was Finding Nemo. And
That's
they were
really good. I
young,
love
and it
that.
was at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre. It was really dragging. And then when it got to the interval, I'm like, all right, let's go. And then they're like, Uncle Jay, why is nobody else leaving? And I said, because we've got VIP passes, so everyone has to wait till we leave the car park, so that way we don't get stuck in the traffic. And they're like, you're the best, Uncle Jay. And I'm like, no worries.
Are they still waiting for part 2 though?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've grown up and realised, yeah.
Uncle Jay's a liar. That's what they realised.
Uncle Jay's a bad man.
I've seen her before, but I would love to go and see Adele in Vegas. She's
Yes.
one of my favourites.
Is she playing at the Sphere?
go?
No, I don't think
No.
that's been announced. I think she's finishing her Vegas residency soon, though. So it may eventuate to being at the Sphere. That would be phenomenal.
U2.
In fact, I'd like
Incredible.
to see anyone at the Sphere.
I saw some footage. A friend of mine was at the U2 show, the second last one, and it is insane. It's like psychedelic.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So
My partner,
immersive.
Paul, went over to the opening night at the Sphere when it was U2 and he was FaceTiming me and it was
And
like...
she's in the studio with me going, "That's great, Dale. You're having an awesome time at the Sphere in Vegas.
Yeah.
We're sitting here playing Justin Bieber and giving away pink tickets.
was
Love
wrapped.
you."
Yeah, I was rapt about it.
All right, last question. Describe each other in one word.
One word.
Oh, I don't want to give her the compliment, but I'm going to say kind.
Oh,
Lauren is very generous. I'll go with generous, actually.
Okay.
Like I said, when we first met, I was trying to get to Brisbane to see my dad before he passed. We'd hung out once, or not even that, only spoken on the phone once, and she was the first to reach out and offer us accommodation in Byron, use the house. When we had our third baby, she didn't send presents for the missus or the kids. She sent them for my other two boys. Like, she's very good like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sends me bugger all, but yeah, everyone else around me.
One word for Jase, I would say quick. He has the quickest wit of anyone I know. Whether it's, I mean, he does all the hard work on the show, so he panels the show.
Oh, can we get that isolated grab,
Whether,
please?
whether he's firing off like the perfect sound effect at the perfect time or firing back at a joke, he's so quick-witted and it catches me unaware and it makes me laugh every single time.
love it. Perfect.
Jason, Laura, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, guys. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And good luck, because you do need a little bit of luck in this game.
Absolutely.
And just hope you guys, go for a very, very long time.
I did say to Lauren,
Thank
because
you.
everyone's been so supportive on socials, and I'm like, let's not let it go to our head. It doesn't mean they love us. They just don't like who's replacing us. But we will take this free kick.
Yeah. Love it.
Well, you're not far away from the South Melbourne market, so you're going to enjoy those South Melbourne dimmies. And,
No, stop. I told you I put on 10 kilos in my first stint on Breakfast Radio. We're not doing it again.
I thought that was your way of saying if it doesn't work out, the markets are close by. I can get a job there.
You go buy a T-shirt.
I was like, all right, thank you for my back.
Go and sell some dim sims on a Sunday morning.
No, celebrate the success. Is that
Thank
right?
you, guys.
Absolutely,
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Go forever. Go for a long time. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining
Thanks
us
for your
today.
time.
We appreciate it.
That was fun.
How lovely. They're so nice.
Yeah, they're a good team.
Yeah, and what great rapport, clearly.
Mm.
I mean, you'd have to. You can always tell, the listener can always tell if there isn't
Absolutely.
the rapport. So
Yeah.
the fact that, that they will have great success.
Well,
I'm
it's
sure.
always nice when you hear people on radio enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, that's right.
And even if they're taking the piss out of each other or whatever, that authenticity and
Yep.
enjoying each other's company, it's a lovely thing to be driving along and listening to, or when you're out walking and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So that's
absolutely.
good on them.
So they're the morning show.
Yes,
In Melbourne.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do the morning show on Nova 100.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that the drive?
No, drive is afternoon.
Drive is afternoon.
Yeah, we
Okay.
could do drive.
So it's morning drive.
Well, it's I guess it's morning drive. I suppose they're on
Driving
till
into
9.
it. But yeah,
Yeah, so there's 6 till 9.
nice.
Yeah, like
Love it.
Fitzy and Whipper and Kate,
And Kate, yeah.
in Sydney.
Also some of our faves.
Good people.
Mm-hmm.
We love them. Alrighty, we are cooked.
We are. Thanks for listening.
We'll
He
catch
kept
up.
on saying cooked radio.
I know,
people
and
are
I meant to
cooked.
ask him,
Is
what's
that
his
why?
definition of cook? Because I'm thinking, is that like a wake and bake? Or
Because
what does
you're
it
in radio,
do?
honey. You are a radio guy. You must be in that cooked category.
I guess so. I get to be cooked at night time on Smooth.
That's right. Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye for now.